Conflict can happen between anyone, and usually that means blame and shame are going to be thrown around when that happens.
That's right. Chantel Wright's joining us today to talk about this and break it down for those who are guilty of this, which I think is everyone. It's projecting, right?
Yeah, it is in a sense, but really it's about looking at like what our own triggers are and taking ownership of it. So, you know, I use the analogy of I have this cute little 11-year-old, and he is a gem. Right now, his biggest thing is he takes his socks off everywhere. And we find them in the dumbest places. Usually, like, I'll climb in bed and there will be one stuck at the bottom of my bed. And so it can be very irritating, right? Especially when we've asked him, pick up your socks, pick up your socks. The thing is, the problem isn't actually that he's leaving the socks around. The problem is that I have a problem with the fact that he's leaving his socks around.
So I'm having to shift my brain. Why isn't it his fault or his problem?
Well, again, if I point at him and say fault or blame, that's taking ownership away from myself, right? So that means that the ball is always in someone else's court. We can never heal or progress when that's the case. And the truth is, it's not a problem that he's left his socks on the floor. The problem is that I have a problem with the fact that he's left the socks on the floor. So it turns it around on me and allows me to be a little bit more introspective of why I'm having an issue with him leaving his socks on the floor and what does that actually mean.
Oh, it's so interesting. You say I am not at fault for the things that happened to me, but I am responsible for the reaction and how I've allowed it to affect me.
Right.
So when we switch that thinking, then we are in a place of empowerment, right?
Yes.
We're taking a responsibility of our own feelings, and then we can be a little more at peace. So how do we marry finding that, but also wanting him to do what he needs to do?
Right. Well, there can be teaching moments, and it's all in how I show up in this situation, right? I can help and guide him in making sure that he does responsible things and picks his socks up off the floor. But I don't have to show up in a space of anger or frustration. You know, it can be more of a teaching and loving moment, but I am responsible for how I show up in that moment and how I react to him.
So that's the negative way of saying, okay, well, he left his socks out again. What is your response then?
So my response would be just, you know, when I see it in the moment, I have a couple of choices. I can either just pick them up myself and not worry about it, which is most of the time what I do. He's 11, right? I can't expect my 11-year-old to be on top of his game all the time. If he's near me or something, I might say, hey, buddy, can you please grab your socks off the floor? And just let it go with that and just that constant reminder. But the problem arises when I show up in anger or frustration and I lash out and say, hey, buddy, your socks are still on the floor. I've asked you 100 times. You know, and I come in that anger.
It's that added, like, kind of dig. Of like, well, I've told you that.
Yes.
And when we are in the blaming and the shaming zone, you say this is a total paralysis spiral. What else happens when the two, you know, are in that space?
So especially when we start to even looking at blaming ourselves for things. If we've had a situation and I blame myself for things, I'm going to start to feel embarrassed or ashamed, and that's going to put me into a spiral where then I'm not going to be able to step up as my true self and make reclamation, right? So it doesn't matter if we're blaming ourselves or someone else. Anytime that we're in a blame mode, we cannot take ownership and heal those things. So it's important to look at, there's a difference between blame and responsibility, right? I'm not going to blame myself. The difference would be, you know, I might show up in embarrassment and just hide because I'm embarrassed and ashamed of what I did, versus, you know what, I screwed up and that's okay, and this is what I'm going to do to fix it. And that's more of the responsibility and ownership mentality.
I like that, the ownership, because you you have a choice, right? To either be negative about it or have a teaching moment or be okay with it. And so outside of maybe your child, you can also use these methods throughout your day,
absolutely,
at work, all the places.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this has shown up for me in my marriage. It's shown up for me in business. It really can be anything. And in any realm that you're looking at is how this can show up for you.
When you spoke about embarrassment a little bit ago, embarrassment and shame go hand in hand, don't you think? And
yes.
I think sometimes it's hard to identify and it's hard to shake.
Yeah.
So I love these reframing, these reminders. You have some promos going on right now for those who want to work with you. You're so amazing.
Yes, thank you.
Your sound healing, your meditation.
Yeah, so I'm the owner also of Core 7 Fitness, and so weekly, once a week, I do a sound healing and meditation on Tuesday nights, and so I'd love for anyone to join us. New clients can come for $5, which is really great.
Chantel, how has it changed your life when you shift your mindset to ownership?
You know, that's what has made all the difference for me, being able to reclaim my life and take my life back in so many ways. When I had left the ball in other people's court, you stay stuck there. So this has been really something I've been heavily focused on the last 5 to 7 years and made some really awesome shifts for me.
It's so powerless when you're stuck there.
Yeah.
It's the scarcity, there's no
Yep.
power. You're so right. You are so wise. Remind our viewers where we can follow you.
So I'm on Instagram, the Misfit Beauty Queen, and Facebook, you can find me just by my name, and my website, chantelwrights.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much.